Okay, so have you ever read a book or watched a movie and thought, hang on, I've seen this exact setup before, but the feeling, the takeaway, was completely different? It's this super interesting thing where stories can use the same bones to argue for totally opposite ideas. And that's what we're diving into.
Right? This is the big question. It's not just about different characters or settings. We're talking about stories that seem to share the same DNA, the same structure, but somehow their souls are worlds apart. How does that even happen?
Well, here's the best way to think about it. Imagine you've got one architectural blueprint. One person uses that plan to build a quiet, peaceful monastery. And then someone else takes that exact same blueprint and builds, I don't know, a loud, flashy casino. The framework, the bones are identical, but the purpose, the entire vibe, completely different. That's what's happening in literature. And yep, there's a name for it. Thematic divergence. It's basically the art of taking a familiar story structure and flipping it on its head to make a totally new point, to argue against the very worldview the original story stood for. It's like a debate happening across the centuries, but with stories instead of speeches. So, to really see how this works, let's go way back. Our first case study is a big one, the Book of Job. We're going to see how it went head to head with the common wisdom of its time in the ancient Near East. So, back in ancient Babylonia, the thinking was pretty simple. If you're suffering, you messed up. Simple as that. It was a punishment from the gods. But then the Book of Job comes along and just blows that idea up. It asks this really radical question. What if suffering isn't a simple punishment? What if it's actually a profound mystery? And this chart really lays out the whole debate. On one side, you have the Babylonian view, this idea of retribution. You suffer because of some hidden sin. And the way to fix it is through magic, through rituals, to get these kind of picky, moody gods back on your side. But the Book of Job just completely deconstructs that. It says, hey, suffering isn't some math problem you can solve. It's a mystery locked inside divine wisdom. And God isn't some manager you have to appease. He's the sovereign creator of this huge, wild cosmos that's way beyond our control. Okay, now let's leap forward a few thousand years to the Enlightenment. The amazing German writer Goethe takes the blueprint from Job, the whole wager in heaven over one guy's soul, but he's not just retelling the story. He's flipping it, inverting it, to ask a bunch of new, very modern questions. Just look at the test itself. For Job, the test is all about deprivation. The adversary strips everything away from him, money, health, family, to see if he'll crack. But in Faust, the demon Mephistopheles does the total opposite. He showers Faust with an excess of everything: youth, magic, pleasure, you name it. One is a test of pain, the other is a test of pleasure. And this is where you can really see the massive shift in worldview. For Job, to fail is a theological thing. He loses if he curses God. But for Faust, failure is philosophical. He loses the bet if he ever finds a moment so perfect, so satisfying, that he wants to just stop and stay in it forever. Suddenly, the ultimate failure isn't blasphemy anymore, it's stagnation. The heroes themselves are the embodiment of these clashing ideals. Job is all about static integrity. His whole thing is staying perfect and upright, being constant no matter what's thrown at him. Faust, though, he's the poster child for dynamic striving. He's this restless, brilliant scholar who is never satisfied, always pushing for more knowledge, more experience, more life. Even their opponents have totally different goals. In the Bible, Satan is like a prosecuting attorney. He's trying to prove that people are only good because they get stuff for it. But Goethe's Mephistopheles, he's a much more complex, cynical nihilist. He couldn't care less about piety. His goal is to prove that the entire human struggle, all that striving, is pointless and just leads to misery. So, why are we talking about all this? What's the big deal? Well, because tracking these thematic divergences isn't just some fun literary game. It actually lets us see how our biggest ideas about life, about God, about suffering have changed and evolved over thousands of years. When you put Job up against the other texts of its time, you see this huge shift in thinking. It's a move away from a transactional kind of faith where you do rituals to get rewards and toward this much deeper theology based on divine sovereignty and just accepting that some things are a mystery. And then when you put Faust up against Job, you see another massive shift, this time in philosophy. We go from a world that really valued humble endurance, just gritting your teeth and getting through suffering, to a modern ideal that says the best thing a person can be is constantly striving, growing, and pushing forward. And this quote just nails it. At the end of the day, what we're looking at isn't just a difference in plot points. It's a deep, fundamental disagreement about what it means to be human and what our place is in the universe. Which, of course, leaves us with one last question to think about. This tradition is still going strong. So, what stories are you seeing today in movies, shows, books that are taking those old, familiar blueprints and using them to build brand new arguments, ones that speak to our world right now?